Microsoft has been doing their very best to combat what they deem as toxicity on their platforms, and now we're finding out for Xbox they have a new Gaming for Everyone product inclusion framework, which is one of the wokest things that I have seen in a long time. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, headed on over to an archive because I don't want to reference their actual site. I'm not going to give them a click. It says incorporate stories and themes from marginalized communities or emerging markets in a relatable way. So this is just a DEI framework for developers to follow. It talks about breasts in video games and chainmail armor. It talks about, do your characters all look the same? I mean, it is ridiculous. So at the top, it says, having your story told is a universal human need, but for many in marginalized communities or in markets outside of the US, it's rare to be represented in media, let alone games, and as a result, some people could feel like a secondary consumer for our content, which is a complete and utter lie. Over the past couple of years, Hollywood, the gaming industry, they have been focused on diversifying their content. They have been trying their best to, on set, have behind the scenes developers and production crews who are diverse, but also on camera, we have shows like The Acolyte coming out that's a female-centric series with, women of color in it. We have video games like Forspoken releasing and Flintlock releasing, and we have titles like God of War Ragnarok, which race swap characters. Same thing happened with Alan Wake 2. I mean, we are talking about industries that have certainly diversified over the past few years, but they want to completely ignore that in order to push this new ESG DEI framework. It says questions to consider. Are you telling new stories or sharing new perspectives within the product experience? Do all of your characters and player depictions look the same? What steps have you taken to ensure characters are represented respectfully and authentically? And of course, they say that these are not requirements for their games, but it's just a framework so that, if you're a developer and a creator who isn't really sure if you're doing the most for whoever your audience is, that you can really look through this checklist. And they're saying that, this isn't going to be implemented into our development process, but clearly it is. Why else would you create this? And within this, one of the most hilarious and pathetic parts is, are you reinforcing any negative gender stereotypes? Are you unnecessarily introducing gender and gender barriers into your design? Are you creating playable female characters that are equal in skill and ability to their male peers? Are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? They have exaggerated body proportions? So basically, is your game realistic? Do your characters fit into this realism bubble that we are trying to push on you? It should be fine if a developer wants to create a character that has exaggerated body proportions. We see that with men and women in video games, and that should not be a negative thing. I and most people want to look at the exaggerated. We want to look at the absolutely beautiful, appealing characters that developers can create. If we wanted to look at a normal looking character, we would look at real people. We are talking about video games here, and it's fine to have average looking characters too, but it should not be some negative thing if they want to create characters with exaggerated body proportions, and it shouldn't be that big of a deal if female characters are equipped with clothing and armor that do not fit their task. We are talking about fictional characters doing fictional things. If I'm playing a mage and I'm using fucking lightning bolt and lava blast, it should not matter if my character is in a chainmail bikini. That should not be the worry. The worry should be, does the game run properly? Are the graphics good? Is it technically solid? Are there bugs and glitches? does the armor itself look good? It should not be some, negative thing that they are so worried about. And of course, they only highlight female characters, which is very interesting. And of course, we see this inequality in video games all the time, where you have male characters who are shirtless and showing their abs, and there's like sweat on them, so they're glistening in the sun. But then the female characters are covered up, and they are basically wearing turtlenecks, and they are showing absolutely no skin. Like, there is definitely a problem within the industry that is not very fair, but of course, that's what game developers are doing right now. And this, of course, is just so ridiculous that they had to point out, are your female characters equipped with clothing and armor that fits their tasks? It reminds me of course, Anita Sarkeesian whining about breast armor in video games and in entertainment, and how, you can't have, exaggerated chest armor, even though, of course, some women have breasts and it's just naturally going to be exaggerated. But Microsoft has gone pretty woke over the years. I mean, they, in 2023, were introducing tons of new policies to try to combat who they deem as toxic Xbox gamers, and the days that we all reminisce about with Xbox 360 on Xbox Live playing Call of Duties and Halos, those days are sadly gone, and it makes me so upset because I used to absolutely love those days. But the sensitive snowflakes now could not fathom the idea of having to go on a voice chat with somebody and banter. And banter, unfortunately, is seen as toxicity now. I mean, they've tweeted several things like this over the years. As Xbox continues to foster a safe and inclusive environment, we are introducing an enforcement strike system to help players better understand how their actions on the platform impact their overall gaming experience. So instead of allowing people to use the features that already exist, like mute and block, they are trying to implement this strike system. Apparently it's 8 strikes and you're out, your account gets permabanned. So don't do anything that Xbox could deem as toxic, or all of your account will be completely suspended. It's just so unfortunate to see this happen because I love my Xbox. I used to, absolutely love the Xbox 360 and Xbox Live days, but you just can't trust these companies anymore. And unfortunately, when you see that they are creating lists like this for developers that they clearly want developers to implement, it really doesn't give me a lot of confidence looking at the future of the video game industry and what is going to be shoved into games now that we have companies like Microsoft straight up creating ESG and DEI checklists. So I will definitely be keeping my eye on this to see if any of, the first party developers come out and make any statements about this, and maybe they will praise Microsoft for their new Gaming for Everyone product inclusion framework. But right now, it's definitely not looking very positive to me. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this and of course found it important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.